Hi everybody, welcome back. Time to turn our attention to the guru of physical fitness in Australia and perhaps around the world. Doesn't get as much of the accolades that he should. Of course, he's with the Redbacks now. I talk about Stephen Swirt, the physical performance manager with the Redbacks, the Strikers and the Scorpions. Squirty, how are you?
I'm good, thanks Phil.
Mate, how do you get across all three? I mean, obviously the Redbacks, I would imagine, are the big focus, then the Strikers and with the Scorpions. That a tough assignment?
It has been. It's been time consuming, but it's been really good. I've enjoyed the challenge over the last couple of months, getting to know a new sport and a lot of new players, and as you said, a lot of squads to get across, but particularly the Redbacks is the main focus. And then I have a bit of an overseeing role in perhaps the emerging Redbacks and our Scorpions, and down the track over Christmas into the Strikers when they come on board.
I guess too, just the transition from AFL football to cricket intrigues me, Shorty, somewhat. What are the obvious differences between the two as far as preparing the team?
Well, it's probably two things. One is cricket's a skill-based game, so they rely on. We had a chess session this morning. They did 3 hours of skills, and we'll do some fitness later on in the day. So you've got to keep in mind that the skill aspect is the most important aspect of the game. And whilst their physical conditioning is important, it really comes in secondary to developing their skills. And also, probably the other difference is that the players are coming from a bit further back from a physical performance point of view. They've got a little bit more to go, and it's slowly evolving. I think the Australian cricket team have shown a bit of a lead there in regards to improving physical fitness in cricket. And then the States are trying to follow that example now.
Yeah. It's got 14 years with the Crows, then 2 years with the Suns, then into cricket.
Yeah.
Footy changed over the journey. And it used to be all the endurance work and build up your stamina. Then it got to the explosive side. Then the balance between the two. Where does cricket sit with that?
Well, cricket sits is a bit of a difficult one because there's so many aspects to it. There's really two. You're preparing for the batters and the bowlers, and they're quite distinct in the way you prepare. The bowlers have a huge workload, and the amount of stress they put in their bodies during a game and throughout the season is huge. So those guys, it's a lot of management, keeping their strength up, but just making sure come game day they're feeling good about themselves. With the batters, you can get out early and you sit around for 3 days, so you've got to do a bit of work with them, so they don't get too big and they don't, they don't lose some of their fitness. So you're really treating them as two different entities in a lot of ways once the season starts.
In draft camp, of course, you look at speed, you look at endurance, you look at skin folds and the ability to leap. How do you then categorise those different players? What are you looking for, and how do you improve after that testing?
In the cricket?
Yeah.
So I think in the cricket we test a few things. We test things like their endurance, and that's a big focus. Keeping the players lean, their skin folds is important. Okay. So we prioritise those. We prioritise ability to run between the wickets quickly, their speed. And then the other thing that the new coach Jamie Siddon's brought on board and put a lot of emphasis on is their agility in the field. I don't know if you remember when Jamie was playing, he was an elite fieldsman, and he was like a cat in the field, and he was a great slipper. So we're really worked on their agility a lot, so that can transfer out to the field when they're fielding.
I'm interested you touch on the word elite there. We hear it tossed around a lot. They're an elite team. He's an elite athlete. Surely there's different groups. There's the elite athlete. Then there's the ones that are trying to become elite. Then there's the ones that are trying to avoid as much of the fitness work as they possibly can. What's the difference from the time that you've spent? I mean, it's a long journey, mate, 18, 20 years, time you total it up, of the elite athlete to the guy who's trying to get there. What's made the elite athlete that?
I reckon it's doing all the little things right, and I use the example of to our players, if they want to get in the ice bath and there's 10 minutes in there, you don't get in there for 9 minutes 30, you get in there for 10 minutes. Or, I'm going to be there at 9 o'clock, I'm there at 5:02, I'm not there at 9 o'clock. And I think a lot of players can do that, but I reckon the real elite, and you talk about, you say the elite players, are the ones that do it. Doesn't matter if you're there watching them or a coach is there, they just do it off their own. They've got that self-discipline to be self-starters. So they do it when no one's watching. I reckon that's the real good ones, when they have those standards, irrespective of whether they're in a team environment or out on their own or living at home and in the training they do. And I reckon that's the difference. And that's where we're trying to get with our Redback guys. We've got a bit of work to do, but they've made some good progress so far.
Okay, early days in. What's your assessment? Is it what you thought it would be, number one? And what work do you need to put in? Is there a particular area of those categories we just mentioned that really needs some more attention?
Well, so far so good. The only challenge for us at the moment, we've got probably 6 or 7 players overseas at the moment playing county cricket or in league cricket in England. So they haven't really been exposed to what I've been trying to do, what Jamie's wanted to do. So we've been communicating them via email and phone calls and stuff. So that's been a bit of a challenge because there's been a fair change at the Redbacks over the pre-season. So that's been a challenge. And I suppose The other thing is that the players that we've got so far, they just want to be shown the way to train and the way to perform. So far so good. But
they've embraced it?
Oh, they have, unbelievably. But I say to our players, we're in a honeymoon period at the moment. We've got a new coach, new physical performance, but it'll get a bit more challenging, and we've had a few early morning sessions to remind them of things they perhaps slipped up on. But that's all parcel of forming good habits. So far so good, but we've only really scratched the surface.
So we caught up with Joe Ingles earlier in the week. Of course, he's playing with the Utah Jazz now in the NBA, and I asked him about his fitness, how he saw it from his time in Europe, time with the Australian team. He said what they do in the NBA is they spend a lot of time pre-season trying to get their strength up. Then because of the 82-game season, most of it is maintenance. And I'm listening to you there, you've got guys playing in county cricket, then they'll be off with the Australian team, then they've got strikers. I mean, is it hard to juggle all the balls to maintain them at a certain level? Yeah,
that's a new thing for me, because in footy you've got your 40-odd players, 45 players, you've got them right from November 1st until the end of the season, so you can track them and keep monitoring them. But for cricket, you've got people doing different things, going off to strikers. We've got 3 players who go to Australia A and into India in a couple of weeks' time, so they'll be away for a month. So keeping track of them is a bit of a challenge, and getting the amount of work. But it's just good planning, and as you said, the strength aspects are the most important for our guys, and that particularly our bowlers when they're away or they're playing, they get some of that in, because if they don't get that, they get hurt, they get injured, and that's for us is the most important thing.
From a spectator's point of view, over the journey of the last 10, 15 years, those little 1%ers that you mentioned have been the difference, I think, from an outside looking in, of Australia taking that next step, especially in the field. Where is the obvious room for improvement? Is it exactly what you're doing? Is it a mental aspect to the game, or is it all of those things?
Well, I think you mentioned the mental aspect, and that's something we've focused on, and I know it's different when you talk about the physical aspects, but I think you need to train those aspects. You don't. I've got a theory that you don't just turn up on game day and everything will be all right. You've got to practice it and train it, and for me that's the most important thing. That there's no magic dust that gets thrown over you when you cross the white line. If you haven't practiced it and have it a habit, you won't come game day, and generally under pressure or under stress you'll go back to what you've learned or what your habits are. So if you haven't developed those good habits, in the situation of a stress or pressure in a game, you'll go back to those bad habits. So for us, it's been a real emphasis on developing a bit of mental resilience in some of our training. We've had some tough ones so far, and we'll have some more tough ones coming up in the next couple of months. So that's been our focus, particularly to develop that mentality that, hey, we can get through some tough times, and we can come out the other side, and that'll hopefully hold us in a bit better stead. It won't be the panacea, but it'll help us when we get into games and it gets a bit stressful on day 4 or so when the heat's on.
The mental side of it is a skill that you have to develop. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because a lot of people go, oh, well, we'll just worry about it on game day. But it's like kicking, like with the bat, like bowling. You have to develop that skill. Have you noticed the guys kick in on that? Has it started to focus as the sessions have got harder? They've been able to stay with it longer?
That's been, as I said, it's been a big focus for us, and some do it better than others. We've got players like Callum Ferguson, who's been in the system for a long time, played for Australia, and and you see him, the way he goes about his training. It's like you can see he's in the nets, and it's like a rehearsal for a game. Everything he does. So for us, that's good to have someone like that who the young guys can learn from and use as an example how they practice. So for us, that's important that we've got some senior guys who have that ability to practice as if they're going to, they're performing on game day.
18 years, we talked about it with an AFL background, longer than that really when you go back to the SANFL, but I sense, and you've always been an enthusiastic sort of bloke, but I sense the level's lifted for you too because of the challenge.
It is, no doubt, probably that the challenge of a new sport and me upskilling, I was in the nets trying to throw some balls down to players and trying to make sure I'm doing that right. So all those sorts of things, which I haven't done since I was 14 years old playing cricket. I've had to and you've got to learn about a new sport, the physical demands, and you're asking a lot of questions and trying to upskill yourself as quick as possible. So for me, it's unbelievably exciting, and also the Redbacks are not a big organisation as AFL clubs, so you're a lot more hands-on. I was a more managerial role at the Suns and later on in the Crows, so I'm a bit more hands-on now, which I've really enjoyed, just getting back working with the boys.
We need a couple of hours to talk to you, Scotty. Just before we let you go, though, the head now in the AFL has become sacred. Can't touch it. 91 for you, you're with the Crows, broken jaw, and we know the game's evolved over time, of course, but when you see it now, have they made the right choices, made the right changes?
Yeah, I think they have. I think I always look back, because I've got kids, and you think about, well, if people want to have their kids play footy and you want to continue to have that stream of young guys or girls coming through, you need to promote it as a safe sport. So I've got no doubt that the way they've changed the rules with the bumping of the head, and I think it's still a little tweaking to go with the ducking and all that sort of thing. I don't think they've got that right yet, but I think they're on the right path. yeah, for me, it's the way to go.
All right, time for us to take a break. Unfortunately, Stephen Squirt, you can bet the Redbacks will be bigger, faster, stronger and mentally tougher. Get out and support them this year. We'll take a break. Back in a moment.